My idea stems from I would rather loot a room less often across a wipe and know that there was amazing loot in that room. What's up, everybody? Before we dive in, I want to ask for a tiny bit of patience with this video. The whole point of this video was that I had an idea that I thought might move the game in the right direction, but I didn't want to leave it there. I wanted to present it to Twitch chat and to you guys here on YouTube and kind of ask you guys to poke holes in it. What am I missing? What am I not thinking of? How can we make it better? We had a lot of silly responses, but we also had some really strong counter arguments and really good conversation around this topic. I'd love to hear from you if you have any constructive criticism or any ideas or anything that I missed. Just be aware that if you throw that comment down without watching the video all the way through, the nature of this conversation was that we might have talked about that or addressed that later. We were just kind of free-flowing, talking live one day on stream. I know that I do not represent the entire Escape from Tarkov community, but from what I've heard from other people and some polls that I've done, it definitely seems like not too many people are super happy with the loot inside locked rooms, which is kind of where this idea came from. If you like this video, think about dropping a like or commenting down below. We are so close to 100,000 subs here on YouTube, so every single one of you that subscribes helps me out a ton. With all that stuff out of the way, though, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. All right. Are you ready to come on a journey with me? Brainstorm time. All right, chat. All right, so here's the deal. I had an idea, a Tarkov-related idea the other day, and I wanted to get chat's opinion, okay? I don't claim to be a developer. We're just theory crafting here. The problem, okay? I think that loot in keyed rooms sucks right now. Would you agree or disagree? Why is in the chat? Like if you have Ultramed, has Ultramed been good? Has Sanitar's room been good? Like, not a lot of quantity of loot, not a lot of quality of loot. It's both, right? It feels like Ultramed, it feels like the Sanitar room, it feels like some of the labs key cards. Some rooms are great, but it feels like a lot of times they're pretty rough. Okay. This is what I've been thinking. Okay, so dynamic loot has been great, but now begging the question, what are locked rooms for? And I mean that in the sense of like, if you just want money per hour, I feel like going woods without any keys because of like the loot being more dynamic. It's like almost just like don't even invest in keys because you can just do that. So I've been thinking that the locked room balance has felt off for a long time, i.e. it's either too good and way too farmable, or balanced for farming, but feels bad to open empty rooms. Okay? So that's what it's kind of felt like for me. And then this is the last problem definition before we get to my idea. Okay? The loot in keyed rooms seem, I don't know, to be balanced currently off farming, right? When you can loot a room 100 times, it can't be that good of loot. You know what I mean? When thousands and thousands of people have a key, it can't be that good. So that's kind of what I've been thinking. So, oh yeah, so they like nerf the farming by making the loot rarer and rarer. I don't know if that's how you spell rarer, and less quality as well. And then that means when you get good loot, rarer, you end up just dying anyway, or not always, but then it's like if you die when you finally got a LEDX or when you finally got something. Okay, so now we go on. So that's That's something I see in the game currently, where it's a personal thing. It just feels like it doesn't feel good to loot locked rooms, and it doesn't feel good. I'm somebody that loves shoreline and goes down this path over and over again. I just loot all the shoreline. I loot all the shoreline. I loot all the shoreline, and you can make money, but we're in this weird place where like I'm not really getting what I'm looking for. So then that makes me feel like these rooms suck, even though I can still be making money doing stuff. So here's the idea. Okay, are you ready for this? Give me some time. Give me time to win you over, okay? Make keys single use only. Okay? Now, we have to define this a little bit, and we have to break this down. Step 2, okay? Step 2, separate quest keys. And we're going to talk about this in a minute, okay? We're going to talk, just hodl with me for a little bit. We're going to talk about quest keys in a minute. Step 1, make keys single use only. Step 2, separate the quest keys. Step 3, buff the loot. Okay. And I'm not just talking more LEDXs and stuff. I mean, more types of items, more fully modded guns and armors. And then additionally, you know, more LEDXs, GPU, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, stuff like that. All right. Hold. Okay. So here's what we're thinking. It's totally okay. I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to ask everybody's opinion and poke holes in the idea. But here we go. Step 4, can't buy or sell keys on Flea. Okay. And we increase the spawns of keys. We remove static spawns of keys. They now spawn only in filing cabinets, jackets, scavs, bosses, etc., etc., etc. All right. So the idea is if we make keys single use only, we separate the quest keys out. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then we can buff the loot, because the idea here is to make it so you're looting less locked rooms per place, but like you're looting less locked rooms per like time you're playing Tarkov, but you're getting a higher reward and it feels more like treasure. The removing static spawn is because a lot of this idea is coming from a place of trying to remove farming from the game, where it's just like everybody runs to a specific spot and runs away, specific spot, runs away, specific. If we can just make the gameplay loop engaging and exciting, then we don't need to have it. So if you can find these things more. Now, let's talk about why. So that's the problem. That's my idea. Why? Okay. We're gonna talk about this, and then I'm gonna basically ask chat to poke holes in the idea here. Okay, locked rooms would feel like treasure. Okay, reduces farming of rooms and keys. Okay, this is just the increases unpredictability. Spelling is hard. Of raids, because somebody might not have a key. You know what I mean? It's not like every raid X key, boom. So then let me run you through a scenario. Okay, if these are totally made up numbers right now, if dorms marked room spawns like 10 in, if dorms marked room spawns like 1 in 100 raids right now, right? We can kind of like walk this out. If dorms marked room spawns 10 in 100 raids, if we let's now make it spawn 25 in 100 raids. Okay, the same number of swipes happen, right? One customs marked key is 25 uses. If you make it single use, but you increase its spawn rate, an equal number of swipes can happen, but more people get it. Chat, who's been looking for a marked key and hasn't found one? more people get it and can't farm it. And if you're a Giga Chad, then you're gonna still find more. You know what I mean? You're gonna find a decent amount. And once again, we have to remove our old world thinking. Remember, okay, regardless of if you play, you know, regardless of like if you're a Chad, Rat, whatever, I would rather, and I guess tell me if you agree or disagree, I would rather loot marked room less times than a wipe, maybe like once a week, and have it be insane than 20 times a week and only get one good item. Right? Why would I need a sick case, a key tool or a sick case? Here's why. Because we have to extrapolate this further. I'll answer that question as we extrapolate this example further. Okay. So if we take this even further, so to take it further, you don't really want the same number of swipes if the room is OP. Oh. Well, dude, yeah, well, that's, yeah, exactly. All right, because, so we wouldn't want to make it the same amount of swipes, because if we buff the loot, so we reduce the spawn a little bit more. And then the other thing you have to think of is that at this point, all the good keys are one-time use and therefore spawning much more frequently. So you would still need a dox or sick to bring in all the keys you have if you're going to farm Shoreline and you've farmed up a bunch of keys, and also to take out all the new keys you are finding, right? Because you have to remember, this isn't just the marked key. If we're talking all the keys are increased in spawn, then if you do a jacket run on Shoreline, you might find 6 or 7 like good keys all over Tarkov in one raid. So you'd want a dox case, you'd want a sick case half full, so you could go in and use the ones you're bringing, and so that you can pull a bunch of them out. You know what I mean? And it'll be forcing you around to other maps and stuff like that. The idea here is that we are flipping the script, and BSG could balance the rarity of keys off of the sick loot inside, instead of balancing the loot off of how many people have a key. You see what I'm doing here? You see what I'm doing here? We're gonna talk about that again. Instead of BSG having to balance and nerf the loot because more people have the keys, more people have the keys, more people have the keys, and they could flip it and they could balance the rarity of the keys based on the insane loot. You know what I mean? And I personally feel like that would be a little bit better. And then we can imagine this with colored cards as well, right? Imagine at some point through the wipe, you know, like imagine at the end of a wipe, almost everybody that plays the game a lot found a green key card or a blue key card or a red key card, right? Because if a green key card, like, oh my God, like a green key card spawns so rarely and the loot in there is not that good. A red key card is so rare, and they're like, are there any labs chads in here? Are there any labs chads in here that, like, all I hear from the labs chads is that red key card sucks. Red key card is terrible, but it's one of the most rarest keys in the game. So what if it spawns, what if everybody found a red key card at some point, and maybe it forced more people to go to labs every once in a while? It didn't force you, you didn't have to use it, but like, I've heard that red is terrible. So let's see. That being said, chat, what are the problems with this idea? Hit me with it. Hit me with it. If keys are single use, which I don't hate, now I'm thinking that you just get rid of secure containers. Well, you can find keys easy. I think that's like a way too far stretch, in my opinion. The only problem with this, Jesse, is now it's doing the opposite of what you want. It's getting, it's going to pigeonhole players into going to these rooms virtually every raid because the keys are more available to more people. Other than that, I love this idea. Not necessarily. Once again, you can balance, like, it would be a little bit of a balancing act to, it would be a little bit of a balancing act. You could, like, like, red key card, if you increase the spawn rate of it by 100 times but made it single use, you wouldn't have this like mass joining of labs. I think key cards being single use are okay, making every single key without providing more spawn spots overall, I think would make the game too grindy. But that's what I'm saying, Canal, is that we increase the spawn of it to basically balance it and match it out. So once again, more people are finding a key and more people are able to go do it, but you're not able to farm it. Door camping. Okay, so that's a good one. Let's talk about camping locked rooms. Okay. I don't really think that it would, I don't really think it would increase that all that much because, once again, balance the spawn chance of the keys so that maybe not every single raid someone is going. So you don't know that somebody's going to be there. Also, they aren't extracts. Clearing a locked room is easy. To be honest with you, if we're talking dorms marked room, how would you camp that? Like clearing a marked room, you just walk up and check all the rooms and then you open the door. You know what I mean? If everyone has a key to the door, good chance it's open and gone. I think you guys are misunderstanding me. I'm not saying increase the spawn so that every single player has one all the time. I'm saying that because, once again, if all the keys are like this, then you're going to be finding more single use keys. Like, you're going to be finding more good keys than you're finding right now, but you're not going to be you're not just going to have 60 marked keys. You might find one in a week or in a few days, and then you just use it. You know what I mean? Broken economy? Explain. Do you mean the loot would be so good that the economy would be broken? I'm saying that overall we would unlock this door. Okay, so actually, yeah. Let's talk about that. Breaking economy with good loot. Okay, here's my idea. At the end of the day, each player would unlock, quote unquote, good rooms less times per wipe. I'm not saying that they should increase the spawn. Like, I would say that with this idea, you end up unlocking doors less times in a wipe. I'm saying that we would increase the spawn chance of the keys because right now they spawn with 100 uses in mind, right? Yeah, my idea is that we remove them from the flea market. So like right now, if we made every key one-time use, you would basically never unlock rooms, right? Because like you'd never find a marked key. But if we increase the spawn a little bit, but not a 1-to-1 ratio, right? Like the marked key, you don't just multiply the spawn times 25 because it's 25 uses. You multiply it by maybe 10 times or 5 times because that's how you balance out the economy. The loot would be great every time you found a key, which is awesome, but you unlock that room less times in a wipe. I think that's the general gist of the idea boiled down to one sentence. I think I'd rather loot marked room less times over the course of an entire wipe and but have it be better loot. And that actually is a good thing. Questing. Okay, here's my idea. Here's my idea for the questing thing, okay? the quests are kind of weird right now. You could make, you know how the golden Zibbo, chat? You know how the golden Zibbo spawns in client side only for you when you have the thing? You could get a single use key potentially for the quest you have upon accepting the quest. That is one idea. That's not 100%. You could just increase the spawn of quest keys larger than the good room keys. And then a third idea is we could actually potentially imagine rework the quests so they go to rooms that aren't the top tier loot rooms, except maybe end game quests. Like, you know what I mean? If there was an end game quest or something like that. It would be unrealistic. Okay. I was actually prepared for this. Realism. Right now, we have keys that work once, 15 times, 25 times, and 100 times. Realism. Yeah. The labs card works once. Oh yeah. And infinite. The labs cards work once. The interchange ones work 15 times. The marked rooms work 25 times. And all the other keys work 100 times. And the labs key cards work infinite. So I don't think realism is a factor here as far as the keys. You know what I mean? So once again, the idea again is that I would rather loot marked room less often during a wipe and know that it was a dope treasure room. Does anybody have any problems with this statement? Does anybody rather loot marked room a bunch of times than have it suck? Yes, Platinum Life, hit me with it. Because like this is complicated and there's a lot to it. But like I like the idea that when you find a key to a room, like right now you loot marked room. Right now you find a marked key. Right now you find a red key. Right now you find a thing and you're just like, and then you go and you loot it and you find a gun. You know what I mean? Like an unmodded gun. Is it a problem though that increasing the spawn chance of keys and decreasing the possibility of other loot in those containers? No, because if you increase the spawn chance of keys at all, then it's just an apocalypse because everybody has keys and they can all be used 25, 50, 100 times. Sometimes you get big loot out of a room, having it nerfed keeps you coming back and makes a separate objective that players congregate towards in the end game. I think we made all the keys single use and you had to buff the loot for those keys to make it worth. Then what about Ledex rooms, Shoreline 301, which isn't a marked room, but high value? Does that mean they guarantee Ledexes now? Yeah, no, I would include those. I would include everything. All the locked rooms. It's just like whatever formula they use, right? Like we know that West 301 spawns more than the red key card, right? So whatever formula they use, where it's like this spawns 1% of the time and red key card spawns 0.0001% of the time, all of those spawns are increased, you know what I mean, by a similar like relative formula, not all the way up so that everybody has the key, but to a point where like if you find 301, you're like, oh sick, that's a good key. I know that maybe a few guns and a Ledex goes in there. You know what I mean? It's like we don't break everything and all the keys spawn in an exact amount of times. And once again, I don't think it should be so rare that you only find one per wipe. So you might save up 5 or 6 West 301 keys, you know what I mean? And go in, because this means that more people might get access to the marked room. More people might get access to green card. The Chads are still going to have more keys because they play more, so they have a better chance to find them. But the more people might get, like a guy that normally only gets to level 30 or 40 by the end of the wipe, instead of during his journey, he found like Ultramed and he hates interchange and Marin Key and he doesn't play Lighthouse, he might find 30 keys, but then that's only 30 uses, right? I would go from 100 uses down to 5. That is an idea. That's another idea. Would make it 5 uses instead of 1. I just don't see how this changes anything, because everything, like, in order to get from 100 to 5, all of the math has to be the same. You have to increase the spawns of the keys and you have to buff the loot. Like, you know what I mean? You would have to do all the same math. I guess the thing there would be just that if you died on the way out, which is a good thing, like, you know what I mean? Because if you don't find that key very often and you found it and you got the thing out, maybe you would die on your way out. So maybe like even like 5, like, or 3. But I still don't think it would be a problem, because I think you're increasing the spawns of keys globally in jackets, on scavs, on bosses, that it's just kind of pushing people around. Cheaters would be loot vacuums. So this is another thing when we're talking about problems, is like cheaters / RMT. I just don't get how this changes anything. Right? Like right now, cheaters and RMTers can buy keys off the flea market, cheat and loot up, and then sell stuff. If the cheaters couldn't buy things off the flea market, couldn't buy keys off the flea market, you know what I mean? It's just like every Tarkov idea ever means that cheaters can still cheat. So how does this do anything? I don't know. I love these conversations because, once again, like, I don't think about everything when I think about these ideas, right? Like, I miss a lot of things, and I don't necessarily, like, I'm not like super confident this would be the best thing in the world for the game. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that my idea all the way stems from this, is that I would like locked rooms, oh no, to feel like an accomplishment, to feel like I really got something cool, and that it wasn't something that I could just farm over and over and over again, and it felt good, and I knew that I could get good loot, and it would push people around to do stuff, and it would give more people more opportunities to go more places. If I find Ultramed once, and green key card, and marked room, and 301, you know, it pushes me around. Right now, keys are just money. I find a good key, I hate that map, I just sell the key. I find a good key, I hate that map, I just sell the key. You know what I mean? Make it, yeah, exactly. You would loot the room you would have the key for. Exactly. So, in theory, PvP and all that stuff would remain similar, because those are still hot spots where people have keys for. But you know, this could ruin everything. I don't know. Marked room is more about PvP, and I think that really is the counter. The counter argument here is really locked rooms are about the farm, and locked rooms are about PvP and not loot. These are actually really strong counter arguments to my idea. Very strong. Like if you say like, because I'm not BSG, I don't know what they want, but if you say locked rooms are about the farm, like, you know what I mean? We wouldn't be Diablo. We want you to farm. And if we say locked rooms are more a catalyst for PvP than loot, then a lot of this does fall apart. A lot of this does fall apart. 100%. And I'll concede to that. They're absolutely right. I personally look through the lens of the game more as the like that vision, at least I see that Nikita has talked about, you know, open world, slowing it down, squad, tactical, finding something, and you know what I mean? Like I find this thing and it means something and I go there, like that. I like looting. I like hoarding loot. You know what I mean? So if I found a thing and I knew that this was treasure, like that red key card doesn't really feel good. It's really just money right now. Everything is just money. It was the same reason why, it was part of the same reason why I had the civilian flea idea, because a slick is just, it was just money. When you found a slick, you weren't thinking cool loot I could use. You were thinking I can sell this on flea for 500K. And now when you find a slick, you're like, a slick, I'm going to use that. Right? So keys right now are either just straight to therapist, straight to the flea market, or it's a room you just farm over and over and over and over and over again. But if that's the direction they want to take the game, where it's about the farm, it's about the RNG grindy, or if it's about PvP, then this idea, then my perspective of the game is just potentially the wrong perspective. And I'm very willing to admit that that is possible. Yeah, I don't think PvP would die because more people shred out. It just changes it. And then that's the thing, is that here's another thing. Here's another thing that we might disagree on. Some people love the predictability that I hate. Some people, a lot of people, and they're not wrong, because they're playing a game that's very predictable, right? Some people love the predictability that I hate. Some people love that they know they can find PvP here. Some people know that they can spawn in and know that they can find a guy over there. Some people love that they know their enemy is going to extract right here. This is not wrong. It's just not how I want the game to be. I want unpredictability. I want random. I want every raid to play out differently and like a different story. So this, I almost should have put right up here at the beginning, right? Because a lot of the counter arguments to this idea, as I was talking about it, are people who are in this camp. And that's not bad. That's not bad. Chaos is a ladder. It's really not bad if you like this. And I don't claim to know BSG's intentions. I just look at the game this way. So maybe there is a middle ground, right? Maybe there's like Platinum Life was saying, where we pick like 1 or 2 keys on each map. We make Ultramed, 301, 222, all the labs key cards, marked rooms. We make them one-time loot use. We buff the loot like crazy, and we make the keys pretty rare. But a lot of the other keys stay exactly the same. You know what I mean? Maybe that's a middle ground where you can still farm. There's still a PvP draw, but like every once in a while, you'd find that raid where either you kill somebody that looted the room or you got it or something like that. Keys didn't spawn mostly on the map they go to. Potentially. I think there's so many places to find keys with jackets and filing cabinets and stuff like that. High chance for those high tier keys and airdrops. Oh, dude, that's a great idea. That's a great idea to make some of the high tier keys spawn in airdrops sometimes. You know what I mean? Impact nade stocks would go to the moon. See, I just don't get that though, because like every key on every room, like every key of every map gets used right now, right? Like by the end of a shoreline raid, every door is unlocked. By the end of a labs raid, every door is unlocked. If impacts grenade stonks were going to go up, they'd be up now because you could wait at any door and know that somebody's going to be there. You know what I mean? Like, this would make it potentially harder. Different rooms have the marked room like loot every month. Oh, moving around, that'd be kind of cool. So we'll wrap the whole thing up now that we've kind of word vomited everywhere. If you just popped in, this is my idea. And let's actually talk about some of this at the bottom. Fundamentally, some people love the predictability that Escape from Tarkov has right now that I hate. I feel like it tries to sell itself as an unpredictable game, and a lot of it is very predictable. Knowing where the PvP is going to be, knowing where the spawns are going to be, knowing where the extracts are going to be, knowing all that stuff. That's not a wrong thing. It's just not how I look at the game. My idea stems from I would rather loot a room less often across a wipe and know that there was amazing loot in that room. Okay? The problem, in my opinion, is loot in keys room sucks right now. Dynamic loot has been great. But begging the question, what are loot rooms for? I feel I can make more money per hour looting woods than I can looting marked room. So why have marked room there? Locked room balance either feels really good or really bad. It's either the loot in there is too good and insanely farmable because everybody goes there, or they balance the loot and you go and get nothing over and over and over again when you're risking your whole kit. They completely balance the loot based on the availability of the key, because you can loot a room 100 times and tens of thousands of people all have that key, so it can't be that good. My idea is make keys single use only. You separate quest keys, or like there's a bunch of different ways to do this so that quests wouldn't suck so much. You buff the loot of those rooms, and more types of loot, by the way. I don't just want lead X's in 301. I want to open a room with a gun rack and get 4 fully modded guns and a trooper sitting right there, right? I want to open a med room and find like 18 stims, maybe not 18, but you know what I mean? I don't just want lead X's, GPUs and Bitcoins. I want that. I would say remove keys from the flea, at least the high loot, the best loot ones. But I personally say remove the keys from the flea, so you can't just buy over and over and over again. Increase the spawns of the keys and remove static spawns to prevent farming. So now the keys would spawn in filing cabinets, jackets, scavs, and bosses. I feel like this would feel like finding a key would be a pog moment. It reduces the farming of specific people. The rooms would most likely still be hit almost every single raid, but instead of one single person farming all that loot for themselves, it's spread out amongst like over 10 raids, most likely 10 different people hit it. Does that make sense? It increases the unpredictability of raids. And you can, you know, work around here about, you know, you can do that. So that's my idea. I think it'd be worth a try. I think, oh yeah, to fully cap this off, the problems were, what if they get camped? At the end of the day, I generally think that clearing a locked room is easy. Clearing railway extract or Emercom extract of campers is insanely hard because there's 700,000 angles. Clearing marked room is easy of campers. There's 2 doors and a hallway that somebody could be in. You know what I mean? I don't think it would break the economy for good loot. It would just require balancing. A lot of people hear an idea that requires more than one iteration and they freak out. It would require balancing the spawn rate of keys, balancing the loot. I just think it would end up being better. Questing, I think you could change that up with more like golden Zibbos or pocket watches, where client-side keys are given to you upon accepting a quest, and you have like a time limit to do it or something like that. There's a few different ways to do that. You could just increase the spawn of quest keys on scavs, or you rework the quest so not as many of them require those rooms. Somebody said realism. I just said Lamau because we have keys that work 9 different ways. And I don't think cheaters or RMT does anything because the only way to stop this is to shut down the game. The best counter arguments, in my opinion, are these 2 right here. Locked, if you just think about the game fundamentally different, that locked rooms are about farming. It's about the grind of farming a bunch of crap to get something good, like an MMO where you run the same boss over and over again, or locked rooms are about bringing PvP as well, and you want that predictability. So, I don't know. That's my thought. People think of the game differently than I do. That's a-okay, but that's my idea. I like this. I thought this was good. I thought this was very good discussion. There was a lot of like, what do I want to say? Not pushback. A lot of like ideas and perspectives that I hadn't considered. So thank you, chat.